Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Michael Small, if you do not know who I am. I'm glad that you're able to join us online today. Anyway, today I want to talk about one of my favorite passages in the Bible, which is in the Gospel of John. This conversation that Jesus has with Nicodemus. This is one of my favorite conversations because it's actually thinking outside the box. And that's what Jesus is trying to do with Nicodemus, is trying to get him to think outside of the box. Especially when he says words like, excuse me, you must be born again. Excuse me. Think think about what Nicodemus was actually thinking about. I can just imagine all the questions that he had. What do you mean we have to be born again? Can we do this again? I mean, that's how we're saved. And it's like, but the reality is that for many people, those words bring up a whole bunch of questions. To me, being born again, it's not about being born in the flesh or a second time. It's about being reborn to consciousness, awakening to deeper truth of who we are as spiritual beings. It's the idea of learning not to just see with physical eyes, but be open to see in spiritual eyes. It's about being open to presence of the divine within us and realizing that the kingdom of heaven isn't something far away, but it's here right now within us and within you. You see, when Jesus spoke to Nicodemus, he said, except a man be born of water and spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. He can't be saved. And I don't know about this whole thing about being saved, but the reality of entering back in the kingdom, being one with God, which I'll get into later in this meditation. But I believe that he was pointing to two dimensions of our being, the human and the divine. Being born of water represents the physical birth of our human nature, and being born of spirit represents our awakening to the Christ within, or Christ consciousness, our divine nature. Metaphysically, this is the transformation of consciousness. It's a shift from identifying what our limitations are, our fears, our stories, are recognizing that we are not just ourselves, but we're one with spirit. We're not separate anymore, which means that we are one with the entire planet, the birds, the trees, the animals. I am connected to you and you are connected to me. There's this oneness that actually happens because we're all part of something bigger and greater. It's that moment when we move from believing in God to knowing God, from separation to oneness. To think about that if you believe that God, as a being or spirit, wants to have a relationship with us because we're part of this greater being. We are God having a human experience, an experience through each of us, which is going to be different. And I like that because it really just opens up something new and interesting for all of us because we're not separate, we're one. Jesus goes on by saying the wind blows where it will, and you hear its sound, but you don't know where it's coming from or where it's going. And that's the same thing as spirit. Spirit doesn't know where, we don't know where spirit is going or where it even came from. But wherever it goes, it's because, so is everyone born of the spirit, there's something deeper and mysterious and freeing about that because we're not in a box. Spirit should never ever be in a box, but we, in our modern times, And probably even past times we put God in a box, spirit in a box. And you have to understand that spirit cannot be contained or controlled. And it moves in through us when we're open to this idea and we learn to let go. When we surrender to the divine guidance. Being born again means learning to trust that movement, to let go of the spirit and renew our minds, which reshape our hearts and restore our awareness inner of the inner kingdom. I kind of like this because in the Gospel of Thomas, and I don't remember what verse it was talking about when we begin to see with spiritual eyes, we begin to see the kingdom within each of us. And I believe that when we begin to see the kingdom in you and me and everything around us, that our world changes and we begin to see the kingdom of heaven on earth. And this is what Jesus was talking about. When Jesus spoke of the kingdom of heaven, he wasn't talking about a physical place or a future event that coming from the heavens. He was revealing a state of consciousness, a divine awareness where love reigns, where peace is natural, and where unity is realized. Love has become the norm instead of hate. The kingdom is restored each time we are aware of this truth. And I like this because each time we forgive, each time we choose compassion over judgment, each time we recognize the Christ in others, we restore that kingdom in all of us. The restoration of the kingdom begins with each of us. It's not something we wait for, it's something we participate in, moment by moment, day after day. When we live from love rather than fear, when we from peace instead of anger, love instead of hate, from grace rather than guilt, we help restore the kingdom into our world. To be born again, then it's not a one-time event. Like I said, it's a moment-to-moment event. It happens all the time. Every time we choose to love, each time we choose forgiveness, each time we become aware of a greater compassion, greater trust in God's unfolding presence. And as being a minister or teachers or seekers, our role is not to force that awakening in others, but to model it, to live in such a way that others see us in the possibilities of new life, new vision, and new consciousness. So when Jesus says you must be born again, he's inviting us to step into the rhythm of renewal, to release the old, to be open to spirit, and to live from a place of divine truth. So may each of you continue to be born again and again into the fullness of divine love and divine life, the life that Jesus revealed and invited us to live. Thank you for joining us. May the kingdom be restored in our hearts, in our communities, and in our world. Thank you for joining me today, one awakening at a time. And so it is. Amen.